Welcome to today's practice. Today we're working towards building an apex pose that sometimes is called king pigeon, otherwise known as Ekapada Raja Kapotasan. This practice starts by lying down on your back and breathing in, raising the arms overhead, and exhaling, lowering the arms down. And repeating that movement, inhale and lift the arms, and exhale, lower. So it's a grounded movement. You can add the feet too. So as you reach the arms overhead, point the toes, really stretch the body out. And now exhale, flex your feet, lower the arms. Inhale, reach up, point the toes, and exhale, lower the arms, flex the feet. Draw the knees in, Apanasana, and do a little bit of rolling around to massage your back. The next move, you want to squeeze in and let the lower back root down towards the earth. Cross your ankles now and roll up to the rock and roll vinyasa, I like to call it. Place the hands on the ground and jump right back to chaturanga. And move your body down to the ground. Ground your third eye, roll the shoulders back, and inhale, lift up into cobra. Exhale, lower. So now we're working on warming the lower back, a key point to this practice. Again, inhale, lift up, and exhale, lower. Maybe move the hands forward a little bit more each time if that works in your body. Lift up, and exhale, lower. And again, lift up. Maybe lower the forearms down here. Or if you're more flexible in the spine, you can press up. Make sure the shoulder blades drop back and keep lifting the heart. And the tailbone roots down. Now lower yourself down. Press your body back to downward facing dog. Maybe pedal out the feet a bit. Swishing around the hips. And eventually dropping the heels and becoming very steady. Cross your right leg now over the left knee. This is one of my favorite hip openers. You walk back, and you can do it even when you're not that warm. You bend the standing leg and lift the hips, extend the spine long, and now drop down. This gets right into that outer right hip and glute, which you'll need for that king pigeon pose. But lifting the spine again, getting really straight, and then trying to maintain that straight spine. And keep lifting the hips. Walk forward, and then we'll switch sides. There's a lot of fun poses that come out of that little move there, but we'll do those another time. Walk back now again. Now we have the left leg crossing over. Extend the spine long. Now my right leg is bent a little bit, and I'm really trying to lift my sit bones up. You feel a lot of opening in that outer left hip. It doesn't look that hard, but you'll definitely feel it. You can put some weight into the hands if you want. And then walk your hands forward and release the pose. Jump or step the feet up to the hands. Breathe in and lift the spine long. Exhale, fold. Come up to standing and raise the arms overhead. Exhale, bring hands to heart center. Take the pose Trikonasana. Step your left foot back on the mat. Turn your hips towards the front leg and now really pull that right hip underneath you. Reach out as far as you can over the leg for length. Bring the hand down to the outside edge of the foot onto a block if needed. And then stack the arms as you look up. If your neck is bothered here, simply look to the center. Hold the pose steady. This opens up your hamstrings, of course. Notice that the spine here is really straight, so you got to really pull that right hip underneath and let the left hip turn in a little bit. Step back to down dog. We'll move right to the second side, left leg forward. I like a longer stance in this pose. Pull the left hip underneath you. The right thigh doesn't roll in so much, it's just not rolling back. The arms are open and stacked. Ground down through that left big toe. Step the back foot forward and fold. Inhale, come back to standing, raise the arms and look up, and hands to heart on your exhale. Inhale, raise the arms up. We're doing sun salute L, the lunge salute. Exhale, forward fold. These are great for opening the front of the body. Inhale, lift up to crescent lunge. Now step the back foot forward and fold. Bring your hands behind you, interlace your hands, and drop the arms overhead. Bend the knees and come up into standing back bend and lower hands to heart. Left side. These move kind of quick, so hang in there. Inhale, lean back. Exhale, forward fold. Now the left leg goes back and crescent lunge. Lift the arms up. You can always keep the hands on the ground too if you need a little more support. Step forward and fold. Interlace your hands with the opposite thumb on top. Arms fold overhead. Bend the knees. Inhale, reach up and back. And hands to heart as you exhale. Again, inhale, reach back. Arms up. Forward fold. This is round 2. Step the right leg back. Inhale, crescent lunge. Step forward and fold. Interlace your hands. Arms fold overhead. Inhale up. Straighten out your legs. Exhale, lower hands to heart. Side 2, reach up. Inhale. Exhale, forward. Bring your left foot back and lower the knee down. Inhale, crescent. Step forward if you can. Just interlace your hands. This is just for more balance, but you could bring the hands to the floor if you need to. Inhale up again. Lean back. Exhale, hands to the heart. Another round. Inhale, reach up. And fold. Exhale out. Step back with the right leg. Come up into crescent. Here, take a little bit of a longer hold. Give a little wiggle to your upper body. If your knee's tender, you can keep that knee stacked over the heel. I just like the deep flexion, and I put a lot of weight in that back leg. Now bring the hands down, ground your body, and fold forward. Interlace your hands, breathe in, and exhale. Longer hold now with the linked arms. So the shoulders are, again, a key point to this king pigeon pose. So we have to spend a little time opening up the front of the shoulder and the space behind the heart. Good. Eventually release the pose. Come all the way up. Inhale. And hands to heart. Exhale. Last round. Inhale, reach up. Standing back bend. Exhale, forward fold. Step back with your left leg and bring the knee down. Inhale up. Crescent lunge. Now if you can, put your opposite thumb on top. Give a little wiggle. Rolling the left thigh in. Take 2 more deep breaths. And exhale, bring the hands down, step your back foot forward, fold. Interlace the hands, breathe in, and exhale, let the arms lift overhead. To finish out the salute, press down through the feet, bend the knees, come all the way up, inhale. Standing back bend and exhale, lower hands to heart center. All right, moving into just hip opening postures, you'll reach up both arms. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lift the spine, and now step back to down dog. Take the left leg up high and now lunge it forward on the mat. My right knee's down. Bring the hands on the inside edge of that front leg and move the left foot out a little bit. Keep your back knee off the floor. This really opens up the hips. Notice that I'm pulling that left hip back and rolling the right thigh in. Spine is in line with the back leg. Now lower the back knee down. This is one of my favorite poses. Walk your right hand over off the mat. It's on the floor. Stack your shoulder over your hand and now bend your back knee. This might be too much for you, and if it is, just hold the pose steady. If you're able to bend the knee, reach back with your left hand, get your hand on top of the foot and start to press that foot in towards your seat. This is a really huge opener for the front of that thigh and the hip flexor. I'm moving my head around, trying to find a comfortable place for it as I press, and then I look up and over my back shoulder. So there's a little bit of a twist in here. So draw the tailbone forward. There's a back bend going on. It's an awesome pose. Really fun. Step back to down dog and take a moment to settle your spine. Maybe even do a vinyasa if you want. You can flow in and out of the up dog and the down dog. Now move to the other side. Bring your right leg up, lunge it forward. Bring the hands on the inside edge, and now lift the back knee. So again, there's a tendency for people to round the back and drop the head here. Instead, keep the front of the spine long and that back leg squeezing in towards the midline. Pull the right hip back. Keep the breath really steady here. One of the things I'd recommend in this practice is to keep the breath in the heart. Now bring your hand off the mat out to the side so you're leaning over. Stack your shoulder over the hand and bend your back knee. So this is my tighter side, so I'm going to take it a little bit more slowly and gently pull the foot in. As you squeeze in, try to bring the shoulder blade down the back and look up and over your top shoulder. So if I hold this pose for a few breaths, I notice that my hip flexor releases somewhat, but it takes a few moments. When you're ready to come out, gently turn towards the front of the mat and step back. Find your downward dog. An optional vinyasa if you want it. So just keep in mind, you can keep this practice really steady and grounding if you eliminate the vinyasas. And for those of you that need a little bit more movement, you can always take them. Come down into dolphin pose. You wrap the hands around the elbows to measure. Press the forearms into the mat. Hands are interlaced. Lift up into dolphin. So notice that the arms are in a position here that are really similar to the king pigeon. This is where we reach up and back to catch the toes in the pigeon pose. So here I'm mimicking the pose but upside down. Breathe into the shoulder blades, the lats, the armpits, the sides of the ribs. And when you need to, come down and rest in child's pose, palms turned up. And soften the mind. Now come back up into hands and knees and exhale into downward facing dog. Jumper step forward. Breathe in and lift the spine. Inhale, exhale, fold. Inhale, stand back up and raise the arms overhead. And exhale, lower the hands down. All right, some standing postures. Lunge your left leg back. Interlace your hands at your lower back and bend the front knee. We're doing the humble warrior. Another way to open the chest and shoulders. Fold forward on the inside edge of your right leg. Bring the arms overhead. Sometimes this pose feels a little challenging in the hips and thighs, so make sure that you bend the front knee and keep bringing the right hip back. But do relax your upper body as well. On your inhale, come back up. Put your hands on your hips and turn towards the center. So now we're going to twist. Lift the arms out and now twist to the right first. Bring your hand down in front of your right foot. Stack your arms, and if you want to, you can bind. Even bring the fingers on the inside edge of your left thigh if you want to. So use your legs as you twist. If you can draw that right shoulder away from the right hip. Stack your arm again. Breathe in, come up, and exhale. Now we'll go into the second side of humble warrior. Reach around behind your back with the opposite thumb on top. Breathe in, fold forward on your exhale. Lift the arms overhead again. If you have a hard time holding the hands together, you can take like a yoga belt or like a yoga strap or a small hand towel and hold on to that. We even use diving rings at my studio, which are more secure. There's lots of props you can use here to help yourself out. Come up on your inhale. Straighten out your front leg, turn to the center again. Now we do the second side twist. Arms out to the side, breathe in, and now bring your right hand down in front of your left foot. Maybe wrap the arm again. Now bringing your left arm, left shoulder away from your left hip. After a few rounds of breath, you'll look down again to ground, reach up with the top arm, come all the way up, breathe in, and bring both hands down, centering at the top of the mat, step back to down dog. This would be another place you could throw in a vinyasa if you wanted to. All right, this is a fun pose, a little tricky, but I'll help you set it up. You want to walk your feet in and turn your right toes out and lift your left leg. You'll be reaching back then with your right hand to catch the foot. If that is hard for you to do, I'll show you here in a second the modification. So you'll be kicking up as you look down and keep the navel to the floor. So kick up as much as you can. Notice that my gaze is straight down. I'm slightly forward and everything is really working together. Now pedal out the feet. So on the left side, one of the modifications is just lifting the leg and bending the knee and keeping both hands on the floor. So this is the modification right here. Second side, again, turn the left toes out. Really put your weight into the left heel. Reach your right leg up and the left hand back. Notice how close my foot is to my hip. Now kick. The more you kick, the higher the leg goes. And your right hand and your left foot are down. I say that because sometimes I see students trying to do this on one side and it's very hard to do it that way. Look down at the floor. Lift the chest. Finally release the pose. That one takes a lot of concentration, but it's such a fun pose to do. All right, sit back in child's pose and collect your energy. If it was a little bit intense, just ground yourself and try to remember that your asana is here to keep you feeling content, stable, and steady. Stiram and sukham. All right, sit up onto your knees. Exhale back to downward dog. Jump or step the feet to the hands. Again, breathe in and lengthen. Exhale, fold. Come back up. Inhale, lift both arms. And exhale, lower the hands to heart center. This next pose is dancer, Natrajasana. We're using a yoga strap here. You want to have a loop in the strap about the size of an orange. Reach down and place the strap around your right foot. Ground down through your left leg and bend your right knee. Lift the strap so that the elbow is pointing up and the hand is behind you. And bring the right knee in alongside the left leg. Now you'll start to walk your hands up the strap. This is where it gets a little wobbly, so keep your body very steady here. Remember your center of gravity. Now start to kick and lift the foot up as you lean forward. So you could lean a little bit more forward than I am too if you want to lift the toes higher. It's kind of up to you. But be mindful of the shoulders. This is a really deep version of this pose. You might be used to doing it on one side only. But I like doing it this way. It helps my king pigeon a lot. Second side, put the strap around your left foot. Bring the strap behind your back, bend the knee. Start walking the hands up. Now really bring the left knee in. Good. Lift the elbows. And then as you have that center of leg balance, walk the hands up the strap. Once you get the hands as far up as you want to go, lean forward. And you can keep kicking the leg up. If you have SI joint injuries or low back injuries, just be mindful in this pose. I'm being a little careful here from a past low back injury I had. But still feeling the benefit of opening the upper back especially, and the shoulders. All right, return to the top of your mat. Shake out a little bit. Now we'll move everything down to the floor. Reach up again with the arms. Exhale, forward fold. Lift the spine, inhale, and exhale back to down dog. We'll inhale right into plank and come right down to the belly. The next pose is Vimanasana. This is a dynamic version of locust. It also means Vyana asana, so to speak. Vima is another word for Vyan Vayu, which is a distributive energy of the limbs and the heart. So arms go forward as you inhale, exhale, pull back, and squeeze the legs together. It's like you're swimming. Squeeze the legs, exhale, Inhale, legs widen. Do 5 to 7 of these. This is a great pose for strengthening the lower back, strengthening the mid and upper back. If you haven't used your mid back and rhomboids a lot, I'd recommend bringing that pose into your practice regularly. Really helped me out a lot. Then rest. So I like to take these rests in between a lot of my poses. And once I feel like the energy is subsided, then I go to the next pose. Again, you can take a longer rest if you want. We're doing bow now. Catch the ankles. You'll lift up into the pose. Getting a little bit of a rocking sensation here. Now roll over. If you can't roll on the first try again. So now roll over to your right shoulder and you bring your big toes together. What happens with the gaze? This is a big question. Bring the head back to the center, chin in line with the sternum, and then turn the gaze. That'll keep your head and neck in the same plane. Keep kicking with the feet, then roll through the center and roll onto the other side. And you might need to change your head. The head does not drop to the floor. I hope that helps. Now roll through the center, inhale, lift up, one more deep breath in, and exhale, lower. Turn your head to the side, relax. Bring the hands beneath the shoulders, inhale. Exhale back into downward dog. You can definitely take your time here. All right, bring your knees forward on the mat. This is another great pose to help open your thighs. So I'm in hero pose, or I'm in Vajrasana. I'm moving into a one-legged version of hero, or Ekapada Virasana. I got my left leg folded back. I like to adjust my toes so they're even. It feels kind of weird, but it also kind of reminds the foot of its evenness. Pick up your sit bones and now lean back. Keep your legs active. Come onto the elbows and stay there if you need to. Otherwise, some of you might be able to go all the way back. Once you get all the way back, you can then bring the arms overhead, maybe even catching the elbows. So in this pose, there'll be some space under your lower back. So you keep pressing that lower back towards the ground, root down through the tailbone, and keep that left knee down. Now we're going to move into a pose I like to call the winged monkey. You bend your straight leg and put the foot along the inside of your other leg. Now pick up your hips and kind of shift your body over to the left a little bit. You can't really tell from the video here, but when you're in this position and you really press your left hip bone forward, you get this amazing opening in the front of your left hip, especially down the inside edge of the groin and hip flexor. For students that have a hard time with back bending, I actually find that for many of them, it's the thigh muscles, the quads, and everything associated with the hip flexors that are tighter than anywhere else in the body. So this is an important one to warm up with. Come back to the center now. And then bring the knee around and up, and then straighten it out. Adjust. Grab your feet and roll up to the center. And then switch sides. All right, bring your right leg back. Adjust your toes. They're all even. Pick up the hips and start to lean back, possibly again coming to the elbows, maybe all the way down. And you can catch the elbows overhead. At some point, you'll bend the straight leg, bring the foot in along the inner thigh. And then pick up your body, move over to the right now. You want to move the right hip forward so you're in a slight arc on that side of the body. I think it's surprisingly comfortable. I really like this pose. So good opening in the front of that right hip flexor, right thigh. It's like a grounded version of a back bend. Come back through the center. To pick up the leg, you bring it around the other side and up, so it's a rotation of that hip. It feels really nice on the hip when you do it that way too. All right, adjust. Catch the outside edges of the feet again, roll up to sitting. Maybe right back and through a chaturanga, an up dog, and a down dog. That's a really fun move too. All right, now we move the left leg forward. Bring the knee forward between the hands and then swing your right leg around. We're taking the pose Gomukhasana, the cow face pose. This is another prep for the shoulders and upper back for our king pigeon. This is one you could also use a yoga strap for if you need to. Hold the knee and sit really straight and tall. We just did a bunch of back bends, so this is an extension to kind of even ourselves out. And then reach up with the right arm. The right leg's on top, so lift the right arm. Bend your left elbow and reach up your back. So again, something might be between your hands, or you could even hold your shirt if the fingers don't reach here. They do clasp. Draw that left shoulder back and lift the right elbow. Hug the elbow in towards the head and gaze steadily down the nose as you keep the body really straight and tall. When you release the hands, bring them to the knee, and you'll feel a lot of heat or cool moving down the arms. When that stops, move on to the next pose. So it might be a little bit different for you. It's a great way to detox the shoulders, the elbows, and the wrist and finger joints. Now I'm moving right into Ardha Matsyendrasana. So I lifted my knee, that right leg, and put the foot on the ground. Hook your left elbow and turn as you twist over that right side. You can bind the pose, catching your right wrist with your left hand. I was always taught that the wrapper is the grabber. So your wrapper right now is your left arm, and it would grab your right wrist. This pose, you can't see my right hip, but I'm trying to drop it down. Now look forward over your front shoulder, release the pose. Hold the knee, sit up tall. And then gently come out of the pose. We're going to switch sides. Stack the knees. Now your left leg's on top. Hold the knee and sit up tall. Now reach the left arm up, bend the elbow, and bring the right arm up the back. Clasp the hands. So for many of you, this is the tighter, harder side. You might need a prop on this side, but not the other. Again, hold steady and deepen your breath. To release, lower the hands onto the knees again. Feel that flush of energy down the arms. This is so good if you get cold hands. So one of the ways of building the circulation power in your body. Ardha Matsyendrasana again. Let the left hip drop down, hook your elbow, twist around, look over the left shoulder. Bring your left shoulder back and lift the chest. Maybe bind here if you want to. Release the pose, come on out. And reach the hands forward. Step or jump the legs back to downward dog. All right. Lower down, chaturanga, up dog, down dog. This is to cleanse the spine. It's obviously optional. And now we move towards the apex pose. Reach over and grab the yoga strap, which should have a loop in it the size of an orange still. And you might want your yoga blanket folded next to you. Now, I put the strap on the left side of my mat. You'll see why in a second. I'll reach the right leg up, then bring it forward on the mat. Come down into pigeon. Now, most people know this pigeon. pose, and they do a forward fold. We're taking the back bend version today. This is our apex pose. Ekapada, one-legged or one-footed, Rajakapotasana, king pigeon. So here I just showed you how to put a blanket under the hip. I'm not going to use it though in this video. Reach back and put the loop around your left foot. Then lower the leg back down to the ground. Make sure that the leg is parallel with the side of the mat. And the scissoring of the hips is really important here. That left leg wants to really hug in towards the midline, and you drop the right hip down and back. Notice that my foot is not in line with my knee in that front leg. It's closer to my left hip. Reach the hands onto the strap, and you'll reach back, and the aim here is to straighten the arms. This will put a lot of torque on your lower back, but you need to press down through that front shin and lift up. This might not be nearly as far as you get in your pose today, but see where it can go. Notice how smooth the back is here. The leg and the back and the arms are all in the same kind of exertion. You hold that. You certainly could bend the knee and walk the hands up the strap, but I'm going to show you a few different ways to do king pigeon today without the strap. That's simply a pose I'd like you to do to help build your back bend power in the pose. All right, so settling back into the foundation. At some point, I'm creating the pose here without the strap, pressing on my leg. Bend your back leg and catch the outer ankle. Now, a lot of people, again, do this version where they reach forward and kick. Sometimes the hips turn to the left a lot, though, so I'm not a huge fan of it, but you can do it as long as you keep that left hip moving forward. You can also grab the inside edge of the ankle and start to pull it in. Really let the left hip move forward, and then you might even hook the toes inside the elbow. Now keep bringing your chest and your hip around towards the front. If you have the balance, you can reach your right arm up and catch the hand. Now you should be feeling comfortable and stable while you're doing this pose. If you're not quite there and the breath gets really taxed, just stop at one of the previous versions, and you can always move towards this as your body starts to yield and build that strength. Now I grab the outer two little toes. I bring my elbow up, so I'm showing you how to do this again. Grab the little two toes, bend the elbow up, and twist around towards the front. And then reach back and catch the big toe with your opposite hand. Once you grab the foot, square your chest and shoulders towards the front, and then bring the elbows in and look up. The toes can touch the head, possibly, and then press down through that front shin and lift up. This is the pose, king pigeon, Ekapada Rajakapotasana. So as you come out, reach forward and come out of the pose the way you got into it. This will help you feel comfortable on the exit. So after you've finished it, it is quite a big pose. I'm going to come onto the forearms and just keep my spine straight. I don't want to get too relaxed just yet because it's a back bend. Back bends are very energizing, and I want to keep that back bend energy in my spine. After a couple breaths in that forward bend, I lift up, press under my hands, press to the back toes, and finally lift the leg back. You might need a little more time. I kind of went through this quickly, just in the interest of time, but all of these can definitely take a little bit more time to do. You can lift that top leg, your right leg up. It releases the front of the hip flexor. And then we go to the other side. Reach up with the left leg, reach forward. Then walk your right leg back. So now grab the strap and put it around the right foot. So you bend the knee and bring the leg back. Roll onto the top of that right leg. Now it doesn't look like it in this video because of my pants, but my knee is actually down. Press the foot down and then lift up. Notice that I'm pulling my chest up. I'm lifting up and dropping my tailbone down here. It's very strong action, but when everything's working together, it feels energizing. It feels great. The front shin can press down too. Keep the arms in towards the head. Gently release the strap. Take it off the foot. And then go back and recreate that pose with the hands down without the strap. Again, you can press down on the leg. Here we're bending the back knee. reaching forward. And if it's a tighter side for you, you can take a blanket under one side if you need it. It goes right under the sit bone. So here I'm showing you how to do that if you need it. Now bend the back knee again. Just gives you a little bit more support as you lift up. You might even catch the elbow around the toes and do any other variation. So for the full pose, I'll take the blanket aside. I like to feel my left hip drop down. Bend that knee, reach back. Here I'm going to hook the toes again just to show you the slight difference without using the blanket. So I'm really trying to squeeze that right hip around towards the front. Now I grab the little two toes, my thumb turned internally, hook and lift the elbow up. Now this is my harder side, so you're going to see a different variation here. I'm going to grab the toes, but then bring my right hand down for just a third point of contact. And then once I let that left hip drop and I ground down, before it was up a little bit, then I can reach back again with both hands. It's just a trick I learned over time doing the pose. To come out of the pose, bring one hand down, and now release. Take your time and fold. I think a big issue in this pose is we get a little eager, and sometimes when you're in that intense action of the king pigeon, you release without being relaxed, and then often you'll feel a reverberation moving up your spine, which can lead to some back pain or discomfort or even an injury. So that would be my advice, is relax before exiting. And if you can't, then you're probably too deep in the pose. Coming out of that king pigeon, step back. You can lift that leg again. I was pedaling for a second because that's what my body wanted to do. Then open up the left hip and flexor. And lower the leg back down. All right, from downward facing, bring your right leg forward and extend the leg out to the side, exactly parallel with the top edge of your mat. My left thigh is internally rotating, my toes are turned under. We're doing a twist here. This is a fun twist that's very grounding. Walk forward now so your forearms are on the ground, and notice I'm rolling back and forth on my IT band. Roll forward of it, which will help open up the lower belly. If you have the flexibility, reach out with your left hand and catch that right foot, and then bring the right arm out to the side, looking towards that thumb. My back leg is still active, not a ton, but just enough to kind of keep that thigh rolling in. Then you just relax and deepen the breath. So after back bending, one of the things that I was taught is that we do some twisting, some forward bending to help calm all that active energy. So this is one of our twists. Step back, downward dog. And then second side, lift the knee, extend the foot out. Push your blanket out to the side, and then walk your right leg back. Turn the toes in, roll the hip in, and then come down to the forearms. Roll forward and back on that outer hip. So if you're a runner or a biker, anybody that has those tight outer legs, this feels great. Reach out, maybe catch your foot. You guys have a yoga strap, so you might be able to hold the foot that way too. And then reach your left arm out. Look over the side. It's a little bit of active energy in your right leg. Bring hands back to the center. Press up. Press into the back foot. Exhale, downward facing dog. So got a few fun poses left at the end here, but are also, again, calming. Step or jump through your arms and sit down. You might need to walk up. Now widen your feet. We're taking Upavishta Konasana, the wide-legged seated forward bend. Root down through the sit bones, reach forward. Maybe grab the big toes. And now inhale, extend the front of the spine long, and exhale, fold. So now energize those legs. So this is a pose that took me a long time to really move. I started yoga with my body hardly able to move. It's been great to see the hard work pay off. So while you do this pose, you might find that the longer you're there, the more you relax into it. All right, now we sit up and grab your big toes and come into the balancing version of the pose. This is Upavishta. We're going to roll back, so round your spine and lift the legs overhead. This is Upavishta or Supta Konasana. This is Supta Konasana, reclining angle pose. So you're pressing through the heels, root down through the shoulders. If your neck's okay, you could even stack your hips right over the shoulders. I'm keeping it a little bit on the lighter side. And then keep pressing through those heels. Roll forward, and on your inhale, lift up and see if you can balance. You might need to try a few times, but it's so fun. And then come forward onto the calves. If your legs aren't straight, you'll just bend the knees and come out. But if they are, flex through the heels and come to the calves. Now cross your legs. Yoga Mudra, we're going to seal in our practice. Clasp the arms behind you, and if you have a lotus, you can reach around and maybe even grab your big toes here. Lower the forehead to the mat. This is where I reground and connect to my intention. It's where I take all the prana and the energy from my practice and feed that towards that intention. It's a way of sealing in all those good benefits. Inhale, sit back up. Turn around on your mat and lie down. All right, take your right leg up and reach over with your left hand. So opposite hand to foot, cross the leg over to the opposite side, and then look over your right shoulder towards your right hand. So another twist. You could always use your yoga strap too on the foot if that's nearby. Bring the leg back to the center. Switch sides. Inhale, lift the left leg up. Right hand holds the foot and reach it over. After a few breaths, come back through the center. Ground the hips. And then bring both knees in. Forehead in, then lower the head down. Have the legs together here if you can, and then drop the sit bones towards the mat. So a longer exhale, letting go. Gently release your legs. Get yourself set up for Shavasana. Turn the palms up towards the sky. Bring the shoulder blades behind you. Close the eyes and quiet your mind. Take a few breaths, inhaling from the toes all the way up to the crown of the head. And exhale from the crown back down to the toes. And then inhale, toes to the crown. And exhale, crown to the toes. Inhale, toes to the crown. And exhale, crown to the toes. As you rest, let go again of any attachment to the poses that you did today or the way that they came out. Again, practice gratitude for the opportunity to move and breathe and use those 5 elements that comprise the human body on your mat. Feel a sense of joy and a sense of deep rest, knowing that at this point, after your practice, there's nothing to do and nowhere to go, other than simply being at peace. Allow yourself to let go with that quiet, observing mind and feel yourself comforted. Namaste.